but how do you feel like we're doing so far?
Probably bored. I'm probably bored. It's giving dentist office to me. Shoot it.
Yeah.
So those fire alarms up at the top indicate a museum-accredited fire suppression system, which means that this building is up to code.
Let's go.
That doesn't make sense to me. And at this point, walking through a museum, I would stop caring.
Hi, welcome to the second channel. If you're coming over from the main channel, you know I'm normally recapping Christmas movies with minimal insight or criticism. But today, we're doing something a little bit different. Now, this is the second channel, right? So anyone who isn't a gamer, stay with me, because we're about to enter the gamer zone. Unfortunately, despite all the betrayal over the years, I still occasionally play Call of Duty. Even when the game mostly just puts me in a bad mood. What? There's something about it. I can't stay away for more than a couple months. I noticed in the newest installment, Black Ops 6, that they added a new map to the game that takes place inside of a museum, with a central set piece being very similar to an artwork I've seen in real life. I showed it to my friend who's an executive museum director and asked her if she wanted to take the map at face value with me and see how engaging the museum is when 12 people aren't running around trying to kill each other. Luckily, she agreed. Yes! So this isn't your normal Call of Duty video. There won't be any trick shots or little white boys screaming slurs, because today I wanted to answer this question. Is Call of Duty's museum map a good museum? Thank you for joining us here today. Could you tell us a little about yourself and also your name?
Hi, I'm Angelica. I work in museums. I love museum space. I love the conversations that surround museums. I've got a degree in art history. I work as a museum director, and I also work on an evaluation research team at the State Art Museum. And I work as a docent as well, so I'm pretty busy in museums, and I'm really excited for this conversation today, Kevin.
Oh my gosh. Would you say you like going to museums?
I would say I like going to museums, but if it's not displayed well, it can get boring fast. So, which I know I'm not alone in that. So I'm excited to see if I would be bored or not in this museum, Call of Duty.
Tell me what makes or break a museum space?
You know, that's a great question, and I think it certainly depends on what kind of museum you're going into, but good labels, that's your first one. What's the object I'm looking at and how much does it need to be explained? If I'm looking at abstract work, myself personally, I need to know context. I need a productive label to explain to me what I'm looking at. I think wayfinding, people don't talk about that enough. I mean, if in the first 5 minutes, if you don't know where the restroom is, they did a poor job in wayfinding.
I feel like a lot of normal people probably walk into a museum and get angry when they don't understand or feel like too stupid for the space or something.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because, you know, museums are just made by normal people and the artwork is just by normal people. And it's all very normal. But what isn't normal and what we don't do in any other part of our life is take an object and put it on display and then prescribe this new meaning to it. So when we're in a museum, we have this assumption that everything that's on the wall is worth something. And most of the time we're prescribing like a monetary value to it. So if we don't get it, it pisses us off. It makes us mad.
How do you want to go about grading the museum in Call of Duty today?
So in a professional instance, the way that you would quote unquote grade a gallery in an accredited museum is on a scale of -100 to +100, something called a net promoter score. So most good museums sit at a +50, and anything above that is just blow your socks off. So let's take that. Let's run with that.
The map is called Heirloom. Okay, so you see this, right?
Okay, so we're in the, yeah, so, okay. Okay, so what's that countdown?
Teach those pathetic crimson bastards a lesson.
That was loud.
Is there someone there?
There's no one here. It's just
Okay.
me and my guns.
I did look that artist up, Josiane Vu, and she's not real. So right at the front desk, is this supposed to be the front desk?
I think
then?
so, yeah. We can go back here too. Don't tell the employees. Got some food.
Okay, so maybe there was a banquet.
Could
You can
be
shoot the cookies. Not the croissants. So they gave us some dinner forks for our croissants and our tarts.
some
Shoot 'em.
sort of nut. Ah.
We don't have any label near that painting behind you.
Yeah, so
Nor
I
are
don't
there
know.
stanchions. And it's also not at eye level, so I'd say that's quite inaccessible.
So we're not allowed in here, but there is collection from the 20s and 80s.
So it's a collection from the 20s and 80s, but in the text it says from the 50s and the 80s.
So there's a golden era, profound social change. In this essay, do you normally call an artwork an essay? We delve into this.
From a wall text standpoint, that's like the perfect size for wall text. We certainly consulted ChatGPT.
Literally.
This. But it does talk about abstract expressionism and post-war experimentation. So that's all, that part is accurate. But what I'm interested in is those landscapes.
These?
Yeah. If we're doing a span of a collection from the 50s and 60s, I would not put those in there. Even if we are in France right now, they look Dutch to me, and they also look like mid-1850s. But we do have cupcakes in there, to the left.
Not anymore. Cool, so these pieces don't belong in this space, and they're also the only pieces in there. Back there is only the void. As far as this gallery goes, we can't see much of it, but how do you feel like we're doing so far?
Probably bored. I'm probably bored. Maybe we should put our gun away.
I don't know if I can. I can walk around with the tomahawk.
So does this mean anything to you?
Art world, post-expressionism in Avalon. Post-expressionism, as the theme suggests, arose in the wake of expressionism. Oh, really? A movement characterized by its intense emotionalism and subjective interpretation of reality. While expressionism provided a powerful means of expression during the pre-war years, the disillusionment and trauma of World War I prompted artists to seek new approaches to art making. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. Also, the Luttazzi family art world is interesting, and I want us to remember that as we're walking through. Seems to be a very important family in the Call of Duty narrative. 1850s in France, Edward Manet was the key artist, not to be confused with Monet. Key artist in post-impressionism. He was the first to create his own salon, and salons were art galleries that were highly governed in European spaces, just for men, very classical. You painted what you saw, you painted religious entities. But he was the first to paint a quote-unquote, his term, prostitute, and show brushstrokes and unrealistic colors. So that's what this is setting us up to see. How do you feel about that painting?
It looks like a carpet.
It's giving dentist office to me. Shoot it.
Yeah. Now it's better.
There's a lack of wall labels too. We have that big wall text, but you don't see those
That's
100, 150 word labels next to them. So we don't know who did this.
But we do have one for this. Oh wait, no we don't. These are just
What are the rules? No talking?
Please be considerate. Keep your hands off the artworks. Artworks may not be purchased. What? Be considerate when taking photos. No professional camera allowed. Okay, come on. No food and drinks in the art space.
What's the talking icon? Don't talk.
Don't talk.
Right.
Don't have drinks.
You're censoring us.
Listen, I mean, like... You're breaking the rules.
What do you think of these two pieces?
It looks like an aurora borealis and also a nightmare.
It's
What do you
giving
think?
home goods to me.
Home goods. And what about this one? This one sort of looks like it is meant to be a Picasso or something.
Yeah, that's totally. I would agree with that. Shoot it, shoot it. So does this make you think of anything?
Well, there is a piece at the LACMA that looks suspiciously like this.
Suspiciously like that. Yes, totally. So when I first look at this, I think of that same piece, which is by Richard Serra. It's called Band. It was made in 2006, and he makes it out of Corten steel. It's something to the tune of 100 and some feet of Corten steel, and you can walk in and out of it, right? It's in a very similar room. You've got this huge white room, and there's two guards in that room at all times. These small spaces that you walk through to this then big space. And I think this is a piece that probably pisses people off. It's not clear what it is.
As an expert, what would you say this piece is about for those who wouldn't know?
So this piece is Richard Serra, the artist. He created an artwork, a public monument, really, titled The Tilted Arc in 1981, and it was erected until 1989, when it was subsequently taken down because it caused so much disarray, but not to the people that you would expect. So Richard Serra was really interested in space making in his public monuments, which was something that hasn't really been done before. You know, when you think of a public art monument, you think of something on the top of a hill, you think of generally a war hero or something bronze where a certain part of their body's been rubbed off because people stand next to it and take photos. But this was really an experimentation of making public art monuments different. So the first Corten steel piece that he did was in the Federal Plaza in Manhattan. I've got a photo. I actually have a book on it, and it's a almost perfect line. And it obstructed people's daily walks to get to work, which is why it caused so much controversy, because people would have to work around art for art's sake. It really sparked a conversation on site specificity in public monuments. So if you were to take this work, Tilted Arc, out of the Federal Plaza in Manhattan, it no longer would mean what it was intended to mean. It was intended to spark conversation, to impose itself on people's daily life, and this is what his work continued to do. So in this piece, I think this is a really beautiful sister and another really great example of what site-specific work is. Because, I mean, if you were to put this anywhere else, it wouldn't really make sense. But it's meant to be engaged with. You're supposed to play with it. You're supposed to walk through it. You're supposed to feel small when you're next to it, and whatever other meaning you prescribe to it. The works around it are really interesting, too. If you look to the right, all those people, that looks like maybe an attempt at a Jacob Lawrence piece, a somewhat crummy attempt. The stocky woodcut figures. The hands, really, Jacob Lawrence did a lot of outstretched hands in his paintings, but that's not really his color palette. He used a lot of dark blues and cool colors. So if you go on the wall, the opposite side, we had that wall label when we first walked into the right, talking about work from the 1950s through the 80s, talking about abstract expressionism, and we kind of interrogate the same thing. And that's all gestural, expressionist work, and that certainly caters to the wall text that we read. So they're not super off there.
Nice. So they're a little bit accurate.
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know anything about this?
I don't know anything about that. And that piece to the right is interesting to me, but I think it's interesting that it's in that space because it's got those blocky shapes and it's got those cutout circles in it, which you also see replicated in that Richard Serra piece behind you.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to do when I look at this, though.
What do you want to do?
Go to the next thing.
Let's go to the next thing.
The minimalism art movement emerged in the mid-20th century as a significant departure from the complexities of abstract expressionism and the flamboyance of pop art.
In LeBlanc's latest work, Trees, he contrasts industrial elements with natural motifs. His work is a tribute to his long-standing relationship with Luttazzi family.
He's like a Nepo baby.
He's a Nepo baby. His minimalist forms mimic an ancestral family tree, which alludes to how the family's powerful influence is deeply rooted in the history of Avalon, which again, we are at the Avalon Museum. It does do quite a nice job of explaining the work we're about to see and also complementing the work that we just saw. We're talking about minimalism, we're talking about spatial relationships with the artwork itself. And when you walked up, this is a closed door, correct?
This was a closed door, so this is a space you have to enter.
And neon tubes are known to get super hot, so with this, the doors closed, I imagine this room is quite warm.
Got
a fire alarm.
One there pointing at the door.
So those fire alarms up at the top indicate a museum-accredited fire suppression system, which means that this building is up to code.
Let's go. And we have the Luttazzi family to thank for that.
Thank you, Luttazzi family. I'm interested in the closed doors because it kind of feels like this is an afterthought. You know, the doors are not part of the piece. This artist didn't build those doors. So the entryway is totally prescribed by the museum. The way that you engage with this artwork is prescribed by the museum. And all he had was this small little space to figure out how it was being displayed. If he's alive, if he was passed away, then if he's gone, then this is just the museum's doing. What if you shoot it?
The doors?
The lights go out?
Oh.
And the tubes?
No!
Wow, bulletproof.
Bulletproof neon. Do you think that's him?
Gotta be. Blast him.
Oh.
So this piece looks almost identical to the 2nd century sculpture of Marcus Aurelius, who was a favored Roman emperor, even down to the bronze turning to green.
Yeah.
Almost identical.
Whoa. Hold on a second. It's the same thing. Look, he even has the sword.
Who is he?
What is he
That
on?
Torture?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Free my man. He did
Do you think
nothing
that
wrong.
the top of those columns, you see where it gets ornate and you've got that like filigree type.
Yeah.
So these are called Corinthian order columns. So that's interesting that those are in this space. So we've got a very European space. Walking in, I assume that we're going to see more European artwork. And then we see, if you turn to the left, we've got another L, or excuse me, to the right, I'm sorry. So then we see, when you turn to the right, we've got an L for the Latuzzi family.
I feel like they are like the European mob.
They must be. Yeah, they must be the French mob. How do you say it, Latuzzi? Lutazzi, we've been saying it wrong all the time.
Lutazzi.
We've got some vessels here, dinner plates. Some
See, this is my
chalices.
least favorite part of every museum. I do not care.
Why don't you?
Unless it's like really old, like if you're gonna show me like some plates they use in like Mesopotamia, I'm gonna be like, that's kind of cool. But it's like, these are just, this is nice, it's a nice plate. Like I feel like there's nothing special about it other than it's old.
Or yeah, for me it feels fabricated, so I don't care about it. They're never impressive to me.
And also I feel like sometimes you see these and they're replicas.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
And we've got a
Thanks
mirror
for
on
that.
top of it. Do we care about the mirror?
Well,
You
it
think
doesn't
that's-
work, but I feel like that's a limitation of the hardware more so than, unless I'm a vampire.
We've got 4 Mardi Gras masks, and that horned mask, to me, looks like a Hanya mask, which is from the Edo period. So it's somewhat the same period, give or take 100 years, as Mardi Gras, the origins of Mardi Gras. But what doesn't make sense about that mask is the ornate gold leaf application, because they didn't use gold leaf during that time.
Oh my god.
That doesn't make sense to me. This definitely reaffirms what we thought about the space being Roman. We've got these 2 caryatids, which are female figures that support, they act as structural support, but they're to indicate the strength of women at the time. And then we have this large battle scene frieze, which is certainly Roman because of the plumes on their helmets.
Yeah.
This makes me think of Trajan's column from Rome. So, triple check right there. I think they did a really great job in this space so far. We've got another Corinthian order column, and then we're done with that space. So that the end of that column tells me that we're walking into a new space. Animal, 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 animal.
Our eyes lead us right here. Now this, do you think this was a mistake on the game devs' part? What is up?
Yeah, it doesn't look anything like anything else in that space, right?
This looks like a printing error, or like the file's messed up.
We have taxidermy, we've got skulls, and then we've got
Yeah.
this very flat painting to the left. And then to the left, immediately what I see is the Bull of Wall Street. So I wonder
Yeah.
if they're trying to find these images that would resonate with people and putting them in the space, which is interesting that out of all the pieces that they could have used, like the Mona Lisa or Starry Night or these works that have this familiarity, they choose this piece. And I would say something about the taxidermy makes me think of American art, because I just know American history museums to have those old naturalistic dioramas. Those are old, right? That just makes you feel that's completely different. You've got these iron cases too. The walls look cold. It's interesting that you've got these iron cases next to this gilded bowl, and it's being separated by this marble and gilded column, which again is Corinthian because you've got those acanthus leaves on the top of it. It feels like afterthought to me.
These, I don't care about this at all. I would walk right past this.
And at this point, walking through a museum, I would stop caring.
Yeah.
I would be so disinterested. I also feel that the organization, like the way that some of the walls jut out, doesn't make sense. Is that a trash can next to the painting?
I don't see any trash.
If there's no food or drink, why would we have trash? Why would we have a trash can?
True. Like, I feel like we went through this museum in the most natural way possible, and like that's the last thing you see. Not really an interesting way to go out.
Leaving that gallery to walk back into that large space that's so modern it doesn't read well to me. It feels like everything in that space was placed, and maybe they had an idea, they had a flow for the beginning of that gallery, and then everything at the end was just piecemealed together. I think, if this work is all coming from the Latuzzi family, they did a quite nice job, but I would like to know how much they're charging for admission. After walking through the museum together on a net promoter score from -100 to a positive 100, I give it a 25.
A 25.
Hi, Kev. Good morning. I kept thinking about our walkthrough and what an iterative process museum experience is, and I actually take my initial score back. Considering the leftovers we saw in that final gallery with the weird torture bed and the disconcerting taxidermy, it just didn't make sense. The interior was half-ass, and it just read as an afterthought overall. The trash can so close to the artwork too irked me. So I give it a 10. Love you. Bye. I feel like this makes a better event space than it does a space for me to have a personal engagement or a personal response to artwork. And I also feel like it didn't tell me enough about what I was looking at. Coming into this space knowing how to engage with artwork, it's completely different. But if I were to go into this museum not having any of that, this museum fucking sucks.
When our tour was complete and we received our grade, there was only one thing left I had to show her. What?
You won. You got a 100 net promoter score. So to wrap things up, I just want to say that I think that the main work, Richard Serra's band, I think that work is really hard to engage with to begin with. And I think especially in the context of a war zone, it certainly has a layered meaning. So if you still don't like that artwork, I think that's completely fine. You can continue to not like that artwork because sometimes I don't even like it. And I think it's important to walk away from this knowing that there's not a particular way to experience art museums, and however you experience it is exactly how you should.
That's beautiful. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your time. And thanks for your expertise.
You got it, Kev. Love you so much.
Love you too.